Hey guys, I wanted to go over all the topics. It seems like a lot of topics, but a lot of them are easy. Compared to the last test, which I think the skill itself of factoring and all the levels up from factoring, like factoring in a fraction, was a little difficult. I think this test, all the skills are a bit easy, but there's just so many skills. Also, because we didn't have homework, because there's all that college week, it's going to feel weird because you're not going to remember what you did or did not practice. And we didn't really get practice on it. So I just wanted to make this video to make sure you have the topics down and make sure you guys do well on it. But the reality of this is I think the test is overall easier again, but we have a lot of little subjects that are all individually easy, but because they're all in one test, it might feel a little tough if you don't know everything. So you could like do these easy, but you forget how to do functions. So I just want to go over a little bit of everything. It might be 2 videos because I might run out of time, but still, I'll try my best. All right, so the first one, and I'm just taking these from literally what I posted on Google Classroom, and I'm just make a question to show you what they look like. So these four, I'm just going to put it in the same problem, but basically you have 3, 1, -2, 0. First thing's to plot points. What I should also say is identify quadrants. If you remember the quadrants, this is quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. IV. So 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You don't have to actually do it in Roman numerals. You can just leave it normal numbers. But this is quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. So I could ask you, please plot this and tell me where it belongs, like what quadrant's in. So this is 3, 1. So 3, 1 is up here. And this is -2, 0. So down to left 2, and then 0 up or down. So for this one, I would say it's in quadrant 1. Well, this one is not in any quadrant, it's on the x-axis. Okay. So you will have to just tell me what quadrant it is and plot the points. But overall, pretty easy, I think. All right. Next one's let's do slope. Let's do distance. Find the distance. If you remember the conversation we had in class, I said it's the same as the Pythagorean theorem. So you have 2 ways you could do it. You could use the equation, which is this, square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And that's going to give you your distance. Or you could realize that this right here is some leg, and this right here is some leg. So that is a right triangle. So you could also just simply do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Either way is okay, by the way. Either way is just fine, however you want to do it. So I'm just going to plug it in. When I say x2, I mean the x for my second group. It doesn't matter which one you call first or second. You just kind of want to be consistent. So -2. I'm going to use this distance formula. But yes, again, you could just use the quadratic equation. As some of you said during the time, it will be a lot easier. So -2 minus 3 squared plus 0 minus 1 squared. And if you notice these things in the parentheses, it's just how far away they are from each other. So how far away is -2 from 3? 5 spaces. Technically -5, but when we square it, it doesn't matter. How far away is 0, 1? That's technically 1 space or -1 space. 5 squared is 25 plus 1 squared, -1 squared is 1. So it ends up being the square root. This is all under the square root, by the way. The square root of 26. And you could have done a squared plus b squared, which is 5 squared plus b would be, let's say, vertical 1 squared equals c squared. Doesn't matter which way you do it, but that's how you find the distance. You could leave it in the square root. You don't have to do that simplification. This one you couldn't anyway. Okay, midpoint, you're just trying to find what's the middle between here and here, the middle of this line. In order to do that, you just take the middle of each part, and it's going to make a coordinate point. Here's the formula, but the formula is really kind of basic. x1 plus x2, 2. But again, the formula is really basic. All you have to do is find the middle point of this. So XX, my bad. It should be YY. y1 plus y2. But again, you're just asking what's the middle between 3 and -2. So what's the middle between 3 and -2? And what's the middle between 0 and 1? Let me keep this up. So this is going to be 1/2. And this is going to be 3 minus 2 is 1, also 1/2. So half up, half there. I don't think I'm going to ask you to graph it, but it's right there anyway. But you should tell, you can even use your fingers to connect the dots. It should be in the middle of the line. Next one, we're going to find the slope. Let me just take 3, 1 and 0, 2, or -2, 0. All right, last one we're going to do on this page is the slope. So to find the slope is a very particular equation, rise over run. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But again, it's just the distance between -2 and 3. But you want to make sure you keep it in order, because if you don't keep it in order, you got the right number, but you get the wrong negative flip. So -2, or was it -2 minus 3 over 0 minus 1. -5 over -1. Your slope in this case is 5. All right, our next part is making an equation, y equals mx plus b, and checking if the points are on a line. Plug it into the equation. So it could be like a two-parter where you find the equation and plug it in. Or I might have them separate. I haven't decided yet. But either way, make it an equation. So let's say if I gave you the points 4, 2 and 6, let's see, 6. I need to find the equation, y equals mx plus b. So in order to find that, I need to find my m, and I need to find my b. Again, this is an algebra 1 skill. It's just a bunch of little skills together. So nothing to be afraid of. So here, we're going to find our m, we're going to find our b. So to find the m, we're going to find the slope. We did the slope in the previous page, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1, which is y2 is the second y over here, while y1 is the first y. So 6 minus 2 over 6 minus 4. So we get 4 over 2, simplify if possible, 2. Which you could leave as 2 over 1 because we're going to, well, this doesn't really matter in this case. So my slope is 2. What we're going to do now is find the b. And in order to find the b, we're going to use this equation plus the m we found plus one of the points we have here. Doesn't matter which point I'm going to use, so I'm going to use the left one, but doesn't matter. I'm going to plug in everything but the b. So y equals mx plus b. And then from here, y in this case is 2 equals the 2 I found from my math, the 4 over here, plus b. 2 times 4 is 8. Minus 8 on both sides, -6. So -6 is my b. And then, since I'm looking for an equation, all I do is plug it in, all of my missing pieces. Y equals 2x minus 6. That's it. So you just put it as an equation at the final part. Now the second part is to check the points are in a line. I'm going to use this as an example. I'll use it on the next page. So to check if the points are on a line, let's say I give you this equation, or you found this equation, and you say, is this point on the line 10, 7? Is this point on this line? How you test that is simply plug it in and check if it's true. So I'm going to take the 10 and 7 and plug it in for x, y. and see if this statement is true. 7 equals 2x minus 6, but I actually know what x is, so I should have wrote 10. 20. But most of you probably already see 20 minus 6, 7 equals 14. Nope, that is not true. So this is no, not on the line, false, however you want to describe it. For example, that is on the line. 8 comma 10. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to plug it in. 10 equals 2 times 8 minus 6. 10 equals 16 minus 6. 10 equals 10. So that checks out. So for this one, yes, it is on that line. It is on that linear equation. This point, 8, 10, would end up on this line, y equals 2x minus 6. All right, our next one is find the x and y intercept. And I'm gonna, on the test step, I'm gonna give you one that's just a normal line, but I'm also gonna give you one that's like a quadratic. So we're gonna talk about both, okay? Now, first off, what is the x and y intercept? The x and y intercept is, the y-intercept is where it hits the y-axis, and the x-intercept where it hits the x-axis. So if it's hitting the x-axis, that must mean the x-intercept means that y has to equal 0, because you're not going up or down. You're hitting the x-axis that's going left or right. And if you're hitting the y-intercept, that must be x equals 0. So the y-intercept is x equals 0. So because you didn't go left or right, you must be on the y-axis, so it's 0. So what we're going to do from there, x is 0, y equals 0. We're going to just plug in y equals 0 in this equation. We're going to plug in x equals 0 in this equation and solve for both. And we're going to get our x and y intercept. So since I wrote x intercept first, I'm going to do x intercept first. So y equals 0. So for this one, 0 equals, I'll do it on blue, so it's x intercept, 2x minus 6. So from this situation, we solve for x. I would plus 6 on both sides, then divide it by 2 on both sides. So 3 equals x, which means my x-intercept, where it hits the x-axis, is 3 comma 0. The other side is true too. Y equals 2 times 0 minus 6. This one's a little bit more easier. If you remember, the b value is our y-intercept, and even if you plug it in, y equals negative 6, because 2 to 0 kind of disappears. So y equals negative 6, which means it is at 0 comma negative 6. So those are your two intercepts. Now, for the next one, it is squared. What is the squared going to tell you? Well, that might mean you might have multiple. If you remember from parabolas, I'll make a quick XY grid right here. You remember parabolas, they could look like this. So in a parabola, you could actually have two x-intercepts because they hit the x-axis at 2 points. Or you could have exactly one x-intercept. It hits the x-axis at 1 point. Or you could have 0 x-intercepts. It doesn't hit the x-axis at all. All these things are possible. So let's see. Let's try to solve this. All right, we're going to still use the same process though. We're going to set at y equals 0, and then we're going to set x equals 0. So let's do the first one, y equals 0. So 0 equals x squared plus 3x plus 2. Now look at this. What do I have to do? Oh, what we did all last test. Factor. We're going to have to factor this. So I got to ask myself, what multiplies to 2 that adds to 3? X plus 2, x plus 1. After that, I split it and solve each one. So 0 equals x plus 2, which is just -2. And 0 equals x plus 1, which is -1, which means in this case, I have two x-intercepts at -1, 0, and at -2, 0. Both for my x-intercepts. It's okay to have multiple x-intercepts. As I showed you with the parabola earlier with the little picture, it's possible to have two x-intercepts. Let's go to the next one. Y equals 2, 0, minus 6. We're going to do y-intercept, so x equals 0. This one's a lot easier though, right? Because if I made everything 0, 0 squared plus 3 times 0 plus 2. Wait, this disappears, and this disappears because they're both 0. Y equals 2. A lot more easier than the left one. So your y-intercept is 0, 2. It'll be the end of the first video because I'm about to run out of time. Gotta start class. I'll finish the rest after school. So then, good luck. Don't be too worried about this test. This is a bunch of little soft skills, like all little different skills. But the skills themselves are definitely not as hard as something like making all the common denominator, then making the factors, then subtracting them, then combining, then simplifying. Definitely easier. So per problem, it's easier, but you have a lot of different problems again. So some people are going to like that. Some people are not going to like that. Either way, be prepared for the test that's coming up on, I believe, Tuesday for you guys. All right. See you around.